I think we all struggle with what it means to belong to a place. As an indigenous person in North America, there are complex identities that are at play. I am a citizen of the Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara tribes. So I was born in Standing Rock Reservation, right on the Missouri River. I think in its most honest form, I'm river people. And I'm living up here in the mountains in New Mexico. So I feel a little displaced. After my family moved us off of the reservation, it felt as though my existence in both of these worlds was in like a liminal space between the two.
Okay. Cannupa, you ready?
Yeah, hold on. Jen, will you do the So I exist in the world between places. What I'm trying to do is remove the idea of art as an object and think of art as a process, something in action, something living. I'm building things. I'm building things that aren't these objects, but conduits to share information from culture to culture. There's a tendency to perpetuate this romantic historical narrative of Native people, which is, this is primitive, this is ancient, this is not present. And so I started a whole series of projects that were called, and it's kind of an ongoing set of ideas, but it's called Future Ancestral Technology. It's science fiction, it's speculative fiction. It's imagining what and how our culture shifts and changes into the future. And if it's hard to express what it means to be Indigenous today, what does it look like if I bypass today and consider what it means to be in a distant future? So like all of the stuff that we're using right now is going to be around for a while, sitting in landfills. And rather than recycling it and turning it into new products, I'm like, what do we do if we just transform this material? These are hockey gloves. This is an old crochet blanket. I maintain a hunter-gatherer practice in the 21st century, but the fields that I navigate are different. All of the wool that I get secondhand, it's leftover. So there's very few things in the making of any of this work that is dependent on firsthand manufacturing. Anytime I go to a thrift store, if they've got an Afghan and I like its kind of color story, I will dive in and it's like navigating the detritus of America. And it's important to tell these stories for future generations because a lot of Indigenous cosmology is based on sustainability. Like, you are an extension of the land. You belong to the land. Could I imagine a future where we all understood that collectively?
A protest in North Dakota against a major oil pipeline continues to grow. Over 100 Native American tribes have joined the fight against the project, saying that it threatens one tribe's water supply and its sacred land.
In Standing Rock, it was described as protest, but the reality of that situation was Everybody who came there was standing to protect water more than against oil. Seeing a riot police line, the gear that they wear is just completely dehumanizing. And so I was inspired by civil unrest that unfolded in Ukraine, where people were bringing mirrors to the front line so that the police could see themselves. I went to a hardware store and designed and made these mirrored shields in the parking lot, and made a video to show how to make them. The main thing is that it's an empathetic response to violence. At the time that we were bringing like 500 shields into Standing Rock, the police and these private security forces, they were confiscating anything that could be considered a weapon. And we decided that the best way to hide these pieces was to utilize my privilege as an artist. And we were like, no, these aren't shields, it's just an art piece. There were antelope horns on this piece, and I think I locked moisture in, and they exploded. The unfortunate thing is, they fell on some of my son's work. My oldest boy, Eo, made this little guy. He says it's a monkey. And my youngest, we've got this, I don't know if it looks like a Texas toast hamburger with a face on it. And here's my spider head. Oh, here's the fan. Hey, boys.
During the pandemic, everything shut down. Before that, Cannupa was traveling like 80-90% of the time. And it wasn't sustainable.
Thanks, guys. I don't know where my art practice is different than my life, and they're a part of my life. Hey, if you guys want to make something alongside me, you can go grab some clay out of my studio. Yeah, I'm gonna make it. And you can grab whatever.
This past year, we've been traveling with our whole family.
We homeschool our children, had been homeschooling them even prior to the pandemic. Bringing them along on these trips is an important part of their education.
And we thought that doing that would create a healthier bond with all of us.
What do they say? You got to get your own house in order before you start telling somebody else to clean up. I have a hard time with the title of artist, you know, like that's what you do. That's who you are. You're an artist. You are what you do, right? So I'm an artist because I make art. And I'm like, do I though? I always like to think of myself as an engineer. And I talk about bridge building, you know, as an artist. And the gap that I'm trying to span is the gap between all of the different communities and cultures that I interact with.
So we're just rolling these cubes into spheres. And once they're spheres, you'll take one of these little skewer sticks and pierce the clay into a bead. The grasslands where I'm from are dependent on buffalo. And so the 20,000 that are living wild today, I thought it would be a great gesture that we make a bead to represent each of them. Even just rolling that clay in your palm, there is no two that will be the same. And the idea is us in relationship with one another. So the Bison Bead Project is part of this ongoing series called Counting Coup. And the intentions were basically just trying to rehumanize data, you know? The first work in that series is called Everyone, and the number of beads represents missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. Indian and American history aren't told in an honest format, they're told as myth. It is the myth of the individual who had to raise themselves up out of nothing.
I like the shoulder pads with it.
All right, you got that pod?
Yeah, it's out there.
I think it comes from, you know, a group of men who decided that they were no longer going to be a part of England. You know, they were going to remove themselves from their ancestral place. And the violence that that displacement inflicts on everybody else around it, you have to have this myth in place that justifies the brutality of individualism. But it's just a myth and it's just a story.
Okay, that's great. When we do it again, spend a little bit more time going back, like featuring your back.
Okay.
There is an entire ecosystem around successful artists. They're getting support from their partners, from their parents, from their friends.
Thank you, Ginger.
I want to be artist / game designer / YouTuber. All I want to do when I grow up is figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
I believe that when my children are my age, the definition and the exploration of what art is, hopefully, is so much broader. It's like, can you do whatever you do beautifully in your life? Can you make your life beautiful? Today, we celebrate individuals, we celebrate genius, but it's not sustainable.
Careful, buddy.
We are dependent not just on each other, but our relationships to the environment and other species. The truth of our daily lived life is one of integration, is one of integrity. That's how we survive the future.